Your phone knows something about you that you don't fully know about yourself. It knows when you're anxious. It knows when you've just gotten paid. It knows the exact moment your willpower is lowest and your wallet is most open. And it is not passive about that information. The app sitting on your home screen right now, the one with the clean interface and the encouraging little bar graphs, was not designed to help you save money. It was designed to keep you engaged. Those are not the same thing. Theo has spent 15 years studying the psychology behind financial decision-making. He has sat across from people who were brilliant in every measurable way and still couldn't understand why their bank account looked the same every January as it did the January before. The answer was rarely income. It was almost never discipline. It was architecture. The architecture of the tools they were using every single day. The first thing Theo will tell you is that gamification is not a feature. It's a mechanism. Investment apps discovered something around 2015 that casino designers had already known for decades. If you reward a behavior immediately after it happens, the person doing it will do it again, more often, with less deliberation. So the app gives you confetti when you make your first trade. A small burst of color, a little sound, a number that moves. Your brain registers this the same way it registers winning a hand of cards. Not identical, but close enough to matter. A 2023 study found that 47% of trading app users were investing the way someone plays a slot machine. Short time frames, frequent action, chasing the feeling of a result rather than actually building anything. The apps aren't causing bad financial decisions because they're poorly designed. They're causing M because they're very well designed for a goal that is not yours. Theo calls this the substitution problem. You think you're using a tool. The tool is using you. There's a difference between an app that helps you invest and an app that helps you feel like you're investing. And that difference is worth several $1,000s a year to most people who don't notice it. The average neo-broker user makes between 3 and 4 trades a month. Not because the market demands 3 to 4 interventions a month. Because the interface does. Because there's a button, and the button is frictionless. And frictionless things get pressed. The confetti doesn't come when you leave the market alone. It never does. There's no reward animation for patience. So patience quietly stops feeling like the right move. The second thing is push notifications. Not as a concept, as a system. Theo once tracked his own notification behavior for 30 days, logging every alert he received from every finance app he had installed, and recording whether he acted on it within an hour. The number was uncomfortable. He acted on 61% of them. He thought of himself as a deliberate person. He is a deliberate person. But the notifications were arriving at the right moments. After Payday, after he logged in voluntarily, which the app interpreted as peak engagement, after he'd been inactive for exactly long enough that re-engagement would feel rewarding. Apps that send notifications within the first 90 days of installation see up to 3 times higher retention than those that don't. This is not a coincidence. This is a strategy dressed up as customer service. Here's what a well-timed notification actually does. It manufactures urgency where none existed. You were not thinking about your portfolio at 7:43 on a Wednesday evening. You were making dinner or watching something forgettable on a streaming service you forgot you were paying for. And then your phone lights up. Markets move today. Check your holdings. Now you're thinking about your portfolio. Now you've opened the app. Now the interface has you. And everything that happens next is happening on its terms, not yours. Segmented notification campaigns in finance apps achieve click-through rates of up to 9.35%. More than 14 times higher than generic messaging. That gap exists because the message arrived when your resistance was low. The app knew that. You didn't. The third way is what Theo calls the invisible money effect, and it is the most fundamental shift that digital finance has made to human psychology in the last 20 years. When you hand someone cash, your brain registers a loss. An actual loss felt somewhere below cognition in the same region that registers physical discomfort. This is why people who pay cash at restaurants tip less on average than people who pay with a card. The physical transaction carries weight. Digital transactions do not. Tap, confirm, done. The money moved, but your body didn't feel it move. Finance apps have taken this pre-existing psychological quirk and built an entire experience around it. One-click payments, stored credentials, biometric authentication that requires less effort than unlocking a door. The friction is gone. And the friction was doing something important. The friction was the pause between wanting and spending. That pause is where decisions live. There's a woman Theo consulted with, a project manager in her mid-30s named Claire, who came to him genuinely puzzled. She made $94,000 a year. She had 3 budgeting apps installed. She could tell you her dining category to the dollar, and she had saved $1,400 in 2 years. Not $1,400 a month, $1,400 total. She was not careless. She was exhaustively aware of where her money was going. She just wasn't aware of how the awareness itself had become a substitute for control. The apps gave her a dashboard. The dashboard felt like management. Management felt like progress, but the numbers kept moving in the wrong direction because awareness is not the same as restraint, and none of the apps she was using had any financial interest in helping her spend less. The fourth mechanism is data collection, and most people understand this in the abstract without understanding what it actually means in practice. Your budgeting app knows your income. It knows your regular expenses. It knows your irregular expenses. It knows when you overspend on food in the second week of the month. It knows when your paycheck hits and how quickly you move money after it does. A 2026 study of 20 popular budgeting apps found that 60% of them share user data with third parties, and 1 in 4 specifically share financial information. Not anonymous financial information. Your financial information, layered with behavioral patterns, time-stamped and categorized and handed to data brokers, advertisers, and lenders who have clear ideas about what to do with it. The app is free. The app has investors. The math of where the money comes from is not complicated once you decide to look at it. Free means you are the product. This is not a new observation, but in finance specifically, it has a particular weight, because the buyers of your data aren't just selling you shoes. They're informing credit decisions. They're targeting financial product advertisements at the moments you're most likely to be receptive. They're creating a version of you built from your transactions, and that version of you is being sold to institutions whose interests and your interests are not the same. Theo keeps a single sentence on a note card on his desk. He has had it there for 11 years. It says, "Who profits when I make this decision?" Not as a paranoid question, as a mechanical one. The answer to that question applied to most finance apps is uncomfortable. The fifth way is dark patterns. This is a design term. It means interface choices that steer you toward an action you didn't consciously intend. A button that's easy to press. A cancellation flow that requires 7 steps. A tipping prompt positioned where you expect a confirmation button. The Dave app is the case study Theo returns to most often. It advertised cash advances with no hidden fees. The FTC sued them in December 2024. Users reported that the full advance amount was rarely accessible, that fees weren't clearly disclosed up front, and that the interface used a prominent tipping button positioned in a way that caused users to tip without intending to. One Reddit post read, "I accidentally tipped 15% on a $200 advance. Still mad at myself." That person blamed themselves. Theo is less interested in the blame and more interested in the design decision that made the accident possible. Buttons don't end up in the wrong place by accident. A 2026 survey of 141,000 banking users found that 68% had been trapped in difficult subscription cancellation flows, and 82% encountered interface interference nudging them toward financial products they hadn't sought out. These are not edge cases. These are the majority of users encountering the same patterns, losing money in the same ways, and largely believing they simply weren't paying close enough attention. That belief is the design working as intended. The Roach Motel pattern, easy to enter, difficult to exit, is not a metaphor. It is a documented interface category with a name, a literature, and widespread deployment across financial products. The Reserve Bank of India told banks they had until July 2026 to remove dark patterns from digital platforms. The fact that a central bank had to issue a directive about button placement tells you everything about how far this had gone. The sixth thing is what the apps do with your categories. Machine learning now sorts your spending automatically. Every transaction falls into a bucket: dining, transport, entertainment, subscriptions. The result is a clean visual summary of your habits, which looks like clarity and functions like distance. When you see dining $380 last month as a single bar on a chart, you are not confronting 22 individual decisions. You're looking at a number. Numbers are abstract. The Tuesday night takeout because you were tired, the lunch you bought because you forgot to pack one, the birthday dinner that cost more than you expected. Each of those moments carried a texture, a context, a small emotional transaction. The app flattens all of it into a pastel bar, and you nod at the bar, and you feel informed. And you change nothing because a bar graph has never made anyone feel guilty enough to eat leftovers. Theo describes this as the dashboard illusion, the belief that visibility produces change. It doesn't, automatically. Visibility produces awareness, and awareness is only useful when it's connected to friction, to a moment of resistance, to something that slows the next decision down. Apps remove that friction by design. They show you what you spent, clearly and pleasantly, and then they make it equally easy to spend again. The loop is seamless. The loop is the product. The seventh way is the most strategic and the least visible, and it has to do with timing. Finance apps have access to your transaction data in real time. They know the morning after payday that money has entered your account. They know you haven't moved it yet. And some of them, not all, but enough to matter, surface upsells at exactly that moment. Premium subscriptions, upgraded account tiers, auto investment features presented as obvious next steps. The logic is simple. You have surplus cash. Your resistance to spending is lower when you feel flush. Here is a button. The algorithm didn't invent this. Sales has known this forever, but sales had to guess at timing. The app knows. Theo walked through this with a group of 23 financial advisors at a workshop in Chicago last year. He asked them how many had received an upsell notification from a finance app within 48 hours of a significant deposit. 19 hands went up. He asked how many had clicked through. 11. He asked how many had completed the purchase. 6. 6 people in a room full of financial professionals, people whose entire career is built around understanding money, had converted on a timed upsell they hadn't sought out. The product was not bad. That's not the point. The point is that the timing wasn't an accident. The point is that none of them had decided to look for that product. The product found them at the right moment, and the right moment was engineered. None of this means the apps are worthless. Some of them do real things. They connect accounts. They track spending in ways that a spreadsheet at midnight cannot. They automate transfers that would otherwise require remembering. Theo does not argue that digital finance is a scam. He argues that digital finance is an industry with incentives, and those incentives do not perfectly align with yours. And the gap between those incentives and yours is where the control happens. The vending machine in a hospital break room doesn't want anything from you. The budgeting app does. It wants engagement, it wants retention, it wants you to open it 14 times a month instead of 4. And it has built every element of its interface to produce that outcome, including the parts that look like they're there to help you. The useful question isn't whether to use finance apps. It's whether you're using them or they're using you. There is a version of this where you set the terms, you turn off non-essential notifications, you allow yourself the slightly slower experience of manual review instead of passive dashboard glancing. You apply the same question Theo keeps on that note card to every feature you've enabled. Who profits when I act on this? Not rhetorically, mechanically. The answer changes how you move through the interface. Claire, the project manager, came back to Theo about 8 months after their first conversation. She had uninstalled 2 of the 3 apps. She had turned off all notifications on the one she kept. She had set a rule: no financial decisions on the same day a notification arrives. She had saved $7,200 in those 8 months. She made the same income. She didn't change her discipline. She changed the architecture she was operating inside. That's the thing Theo comes back to every time. Not willpower. Architecture. The apps build architecture designed to serve the app. You can build your own. It requires removing some things that feel helpful. It requires a little more friction than the interface wants you to have. But friction is not the enemy. Friction is where the decision lives. There is a man Theo knows from a conference, an executive at a mid-sized fintech company, who described his product's notification strategy with genuine pride. Behavioral triggers, he said. Context-aware engagement windows. He was not embarrassed by this. He was enthusiastic. He talked about retention curves and re-engagement funnels, and the moment when a user who had gone quiet for 11 days could be brought back with the right push at the right time. Theo listened and didn't argue. He just asked one question. Do your users know you're doing this? There was a pause. The answer was no. Not because the company was trying to hide it, exactly. Because nobody had put it in the terms of service in a way a person could read and understand. The strategy was documented internally and invisible to the people it was applied to. That gap, between what the app is doing and what you think the app is doing is the whole conversation. The regulatory bodies are starting to close that gap. The EU's Digital Services Act, the FTC guidelines updated in 2025, the RBI directive on dark patterns, these are all movements toward requiring that the gap be disclosed. Whether disclosure is enough is a separate question. Knowing that something is happening to you and being equipped to resist it are different skills. Theo's argument is that financial literacy now has a second component that it didn't have 20 years ago. It used to mean understanding interest rates and amortization schedules and the difference between a Roth and a traditional IRA. It still means those things, but it also means understanding interface design, understanding what a time notification is trying to do, understanding that the confetti after your first trade is not celebrating you, it's conditioning you. The math of money hasn't changed. The environment the math happens inside of has. Your phone is not neutral. The apps on it were built by teams of designers and behavioral economists and product managers whose job was to maximize your engagement, not your net worth. Those are sometimes the same thing. Often they're not. The difference between them is quiet and accumulates over years, the same way any small, consistent leak accumulates. Not dramatic, not visible until you look at the floor and realize it's been wet for a while. Theo's practice is built entirely around people who looked at the floor. Smart people, careful people, people with spreadsheets and good intentions and apps that were giving them constant feedback, and somehow they still ended up in the same place year after year. The apps weren't failing them. The apps were working exactly as designed. That's the part that takes a minute to sit with.